Hey, I took a few days off. To be honest, I've been getting hit with some really big waves of grief. And so I thought maybe today I would just talk about that. I am going to tie it all back together about what my grief has to do with you and your desire to move abroad. So I guess I am talking about move abroad. It's because it's all very integrated for me. This awareness of mortality and losing two friends from my early years as a mom has really impacted me very deeply. It has motivated me to be real clear on what I care about and what I want to do in the world. That was about a decade ago. And now I live in Portugal. It was a hard grief anniversary this week for me, with it being 7 years since Wendy passed away. Wendy and we didn't stay in super good touch. She had moved away, but it was still a really impactful loss for me. She had been such a present friend during my early mothering years. She taught me a lot about myself. She made really funny observations about me and my husband. She wanted like all the clothes for her baby and like all the stuff and the fancy birthday parties and all the details and whatever. And at some point, I said the phrase to her, "We are simple people." We wanted a bunch of kids. She had an only child at the time. She sort of made fun of me for that, but it's something that I've always remembered because she did teach me that about myself. Friends teach us so much about ourselves. So, anyway, this week, 7 years ago, I received an email from our mutual friend. He reached out and said, "Wendy passed away this morning at 5 a.m. She was surrounded by her family, and we are glad that she is now at peace. I know you are traveling." I was in Ireland at the time with Andrew, actually scoping out places to live where we thought that we were going to get a transfer with his company. "I know that you are traveling, and she always wished that she could travel like you and Andrew. It was her dream to get back to Asia and Ireland someday. She is now free of the pain that has held her back over the last few months." It was really like we had already started this trajectory. We had been up close with people who had lost children, with people who were getting diagnosed with cancer. I don't think Wendy or Gretchen had, I know that they hadn't yet been diagnosed with cancer in 2016 when we were really wrestling through these things. I always think of Wendy and how she desired to travel abroad again. She had done so earlier in her life, but hadn't gotten to do so with her children. I just think of the privilege that it is that I was able to travel, similar to what our mutual friend wrote in that email, that I was doing what she had always wanted to do. And it was also what I had always wanted to do. I love to travel. I had this 20-year dream to live abroad. And at that point, we were exploring Ireland because we thought that's where we were going to be landing with my husband's company. Sometimes life does not let you do what you want. And I think sometimes life does let you do what you want, but you're too afraid to do it, or tired or distracted. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. And I've been there. I've been there living for years without really examining, like, why am I living this way and does it match what I want? So this is a great time to encourage you to stop the research cycle, the never-ending research cycle. Stop spinning and start planning. If you know you want to live abroad and you're just not sure the timeline or how any of that's going to work out, that's why I have the Get Me Out of Here plan. I'd love to support you. I'd love to get you out of the stuck place and moving forward. So check that out in my description. I wanted to read this quote on this topic today. There's a book called As Long as You Need, written by a hospital chaplain named J.S. Park. He writes, "Many of us, due to lack of resources or enduring in survival mode, do not get to pursue the dreams that we wanted to. Yet there are many choices that we were able to say yes to that we didn't, because we were convinced that it was too hard, too far, too much." And he goes on to talk about how many of the critically ill and dying patients that he works with express a similar sentiment when they are near death and they're really looking their mortality in the face. And they say things like, "I was following everyone else's vision for my life, but I wish I had followed my own." And I take a lot of cues from those who have experienced loss, because loss does provide a clarity. A few days ago, maybe a few weeks ago, I read a quote from my friend Gretchen, who also passed from cancer. And she was just talking about how sorrow clarifies things. And that's really, really what it is. I saw sorrow and I experienced sorrow in friends' losses. And that was enough to make me question, what are we doing? What are we doing with our wild and precious life, or whatever it is that Mary Oliver says? I mean, I know that that can be a lot of pressure. I know that you're tired. I know that we're all exhausted. And yet I think it's a really interesting time in history, because there is a lot of sorrow and there are a lot of people who don't have the freedom to do what they would like to do, and life has decided for them. And for me, having two friends who really would have enjoyed living abroad, or at least traveling abroad a lot more, and they were confined to a small location because they needed to do their cancer treatment. Like, they had so many things chosen for them that they didn't want. And so for me, experiencing grief and experiencing pain, I'm highly empathetic. Experiencing the pain that other people have experienced in their losses has really been what got me here. What got me here to Portugal, what got me to live abroad, even when the transfer with my husband's company didn't work out. We just kept fighting. We just kept pivoting until something worked. And the reason that we did that was because I have agency, and so do you. You have more choices than you think. And I don't say that from a place of, oh, of course it's so easy for everybody. No, it is not easy. It is not easy. And yet, is it what you want? Is it what's on your heart? Do you have options? Yes, you probably have more options than you think you do. I'm not saying that they're easy options, and I'm not saying that there's not trade-offs. There's a million things I know that can connect you to a place where you don't feel you have options. But just because you have a parent or a child who needs some support from you, that doesn't mean that you don't have options. A lot of people assume a lot of things about moving abroad, and it's really not true. There are people in all kinds of life circumstances who move abroad. They bring parents. They bring 5 kids. They bring kids with disabilities. They themselves have disabilities. Like, there are ways, but you have to be willing to do it, even if it feels too hard or too much, similar to what J.S. Park was writing. I've been grieving. I've been crying so much lately. So much. I think I really miss my friends. I really miss them. when Wendy passed, as I said, I wasn't super in touch with her anymore, even though she'd had a really big impact on me in earlier years. But her death impacted me. It brought things into clarity. It made me glad that we were already on our way out the door, because for me, that had been a 20-year dream to live abroad that I had put on the shelf all that time for many, many reasons that I talk about in different videos. But Gretchen was my very best friend, and losing her feels like losing like an arm. She was a very present person in my life, even though we didn't live in the same place. She walked through so many different seasons of my life with me. I really do wish that people talked more about the loss of friends. I know that there's got to be others of you who have lost a friend. And people talk about losing spouses or parents or children, and those are horrible losses. Losing a friend is also very horrible, and I've lost two. And I absolutely am inspired by them to take control of the things that I can take control of, to make choices for my life when I have the choice, to look for ways to make things happen that are dreams on my heart, because I am still alive and I still have the opportunity. They taught me not to waste my opportunities and not to take my life for granted. They also taught me that there will always be sorrow. There will always be sorrow. And I cannot put my life on hold because there is sorrow. Now, I'm not saying don't feel the sorrow, but I'm just saying, like, there are a million reasons it doesn't feel like the right time. There are a million reasons that living through this time in history of the rise of authoritarianism in my home country, those don't feel like great times to go follow a dream. Having 5 young kids, they were ages 8 to 13 when we left. Having 5 kids, having a couple of kids with permanent disabilities who will live with us forever, unless they live in a group home, those are reasons that could have kept us from going. And I also didn't realize it was an option for me to live abroad because of the makeup of my family. There were a lot of reasons I thought that it just wouldn't work for us. And yet here we are. Has it been smooth? No. You can, which side is it on? This one? You can watch all of the ways that our process has crashed down, lest you make the same mistakes. You can learn from ours. There are messy, messy stories from our process, and yet right now I live with my family by the ocean in Portugal, and I'm on the path to be here long term. In 3 years, we were up for the possibility of permanent residency as long as we can provide the proofs that we need to provide. That's unbelievable to me, really, when I think back to that younger me who didn't believe that it was possible. I'm living my dream. Is it always perfect? No. Is it still stressful? Yes, I have 5 children. I am a mom to kids with disabilities. I work. I do immigration paperwork. I have a blind dog with a seizure disorder. Oh, life will keep lifing. Always, always, always. But I am living a dream of mine. And it's because I realized that I had choices and that I had agency. And we decided to do something about it. We decided to do something about our dream, even when our circumstances didn't feel like the easiest, even when it felt insurmountable to figure out after our corporate transfer didn't pan out, it felt insurmountable to try and figure out how in the world are we going to do this? How are we going to follow this dream? We were already accidentally nomadic. We didn't have a home because our landlords sold our house out from under us. It was a strange time. There have been a lot of stressful, strange times. And yet I'm very glad. I'm very glad for the way that grief and heavy circumstances in my life and around me spurred me to take back agency. But yeah, that's where I've been as I've not been posting. I have been posting something almost every day since the end of December, and I just took a break for a few days. Because I was just sad. I especially miss Gretchen. I miss having her insight. And I'm absolutely inspired to live my life and to be brave and to keep pursuing the things that I care about because I can while I can. To keep looking for ways to like being alive. One of the most impactful things that Gretchen ever said to me was in an interview where I was asking her questions about what really matters after she had been living with cancer for 6 years. She was a mom of 4. She said, I like being alive. She had been living with cancer for 6 years, and she could say to me, I like being alive. She talked about just enjoying like little joys, little things like just that you can feel in your body, moving her body, dancing at a concert. She loved vanilla lattes. She spent many years dieting. I remember we spent years dieting together. It's like a rite of passage, I think, for every woman's friendship. I don't know. But she was like, screw that. Like, I'm going to drink vanilla lattes and I'm going to like it. I like it. So I'm just going to do it because I like it. And so she really inspired me to like my life. And if I didn't like my life, to figure out how to like it, because this is it. This is my life. How can you like your life today? What can you do to enjoy being alive today? Those are questions I ask myself. When I'm really sad, I still want to like my life. I still want to make decisions to enjoy being alive because it is a gift. It is a privilege. My friends do not have that privilege, but I have that privilege to be alive in this body. And so that's why I'm here. That's the kind of weight that was behind my move abroad. It's the kind of weight that will carry you through a move abroad. Really understanding, why am I even doing this? For me, it was because I wanted to. It was a dream of mine for so long. And sometimes you don't get to follow your dreams, but a lot of times you have more options than you think you do. So please go do something that you like today. I know it's a hard time in history. Let this hard time in history push you out the door if this was a long-term dream of yours. Let this hard time in history inspire you to like your life, because life is short and fragile. It is much briefer than we would like, but it's likable. It's likable if you make it likable. All right. I hope this helps.